Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Leah Eichler, and I'm here today at Supermarket in Kensington Market with Ivan Lesay. Ivan Lesay is a Slovak writer, and his debut novel is The Topography of Pain. Welcome, Ivan.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Oh, it's so great to be here, and it's so great to be in Kensington, which is, it was a cultural hub for immigrants for a very long time. So
I heard so. It's beautiful here.
It is beautiful here. Ivan's book, Topography of Pain, was recently translated into English and is published by Guernica Editions. Ivan, you've had a very interesting career. I mean, you started out in academia. You've written children's books.
That's correct. Yeah.
Tell me about that pivot. How does that work?
From academia to writing.
It's hard, no?
It is. I mean, the good thing about being in academia is that you know to do the proper sitting and writing. So you are familiar with the computer and with writing. Of course, the way you write is completely different. But this was something that I thought was missing from academia. If you have to be really good in academia, you need to narrow down. You need to analyze. You go specific, very, very specific. And it doesn't give you too much freedom. And I was missing this part, and I thought it would be nice to actually go very micro. But, writing stories of characters that are in time, situated somewhere in time, but whose stories would be relatable to individuals. And so making general claim while doing the micro story or narrative, that's something that was attractive to me.
Interesting. I mean, did you always have these literary inspirations even before you went into academia?
I had those aspirations, but I always thought I'm not an author, I'm not a writer, I don't have time for this, I don't have talent for that. So it took me quite some time to dare to write fiction. It was a stepping stone to write for children.
Yeah.
And then I did, at one point it wasn't even like I realized, but it was realized inside me that I would write a novel, like a proper novel. And I started writing, and I was happy with any result, like whether it's going to be published or not or anything. So I just felt like, yeah.
Did you have is there literary heroes in Slovakia that maybe spoke to you while you were writing?
Yes, actually, the way I work in life is like whenever I want to do something that is, like uncharted waters to me, I talk to somebody who does it already. Like, for example, I was too lazy to start running, so I made an appointment with someone who runs, and then you need to turn up and do that. So I was talking to a friend of mine who is a writer.
Yeah.
And originally the idea was that we'll write something together. That was my idea, not so much hers.
Right.
But just playing with that idea and not actually finishing with her writing a book, but it helped me a lot.
Did you have a favorite author growing up?
When I was growing up, I had many, but I was not a good reader. I remember being in a college, and we had these prescribed authors that we had to read, and I never read it.
Really?
I never read it. No, I started reading when I was 14 or 15, and at that time already I was devouring literature, and I started with the Russian classics, with Tolstoy and Dostoevsky.
Of course, yeah.
And not so much local literature that I was reading, but it changed.
I think
slightly.
a lot of us artsy types can relate to starting with Russian dissidents. I think that I think I started with that too at some point. The book, The Topography of Pain, is very fragmented. It's told without chapters, which I found very unusual. And the reader is always trying to catch their footing. From a literary perspective, a North American literary perspective, I found it was a very unusual structure. Mm-hmm. How did you find your way to kind of come to the structure?
I don't have a very precise or convincing answer to that. It's the way I like reading stories like that, so
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
I was trying to do the same. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
when it's not like this is the beginning and this is the end and this is what happened in between.
Uh-huh.
So I was trying to do some kind of like a script.
A script writing,
like,
that's how I felt about it. It was like
and-
you kind of cut the script in
yeah,
pieces and
yeah,
then put
yeah,
it together.
yeah. And I mean, I didn't want to make it like too difficult for a
Right.
reader, but so there's like a fine line between like literature that is totally
Right.
difficult to understand,
No, of
and
course.
then the literature that starts here and ends here like very linear. So I was trying to play. It was a lot of fun for me as
Yeah,
a
yeah,
writer,
yeah,
and
yeah.
I was hoping for the readers to have the same.
No, it was very interesting, very unusual. That's why I was asking about it. Some of the themes that came up in the book for me were moral ethics and capitalism and in a post-communist society. Can you tell me a little bit about what's happening in Slovakia, maybe Slovak literature that maybe encouraged you to tap into these themes?
I mean, I can say what encouraged me to do this that I was missing in Slovak literature. So,
Interesting,
yeah,
okay.
Yeah, because I mean,
Right, the book that
I'm not-
you want to read, right?
Yeah, exactly,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I mean, I now it sounds like too, I don't know, like how would you call it? Like it sounds. No, but this is really how it happened. That like I was always puzzled, like what happened actually in November '89. So it was like, yeah, we got freedom, we got like most of the things that we got now.
Yeah.
But the transition from state socialism to capitalism, I was trying to deal with it in academia as well.
Correct. Yeah.
And probably was missing some tools, and that's why I switched to literature. And I was actually surprised that, with the notable exception of some authors, the whole idea of transition was missing. And that was the
Really?
original, yeah.
Interesting.
I mean, you got the Rivers of Babylon.
Yeah.
That's Peter Pišťanek, a Slovak author whose stories were situated around this area, around this time, like from the 80s to the 90s. But otherwise, not so much.
Interesting. So how old were you in '89?
How old?
Yeah.
9.
You were 9. Okay. And what is your strongest memory of that time?
I mean, the strongest memory is that I'm in a classroom and there are students outside marching through the street, chanting, and there is something happening, obviously. So we were asking the teachers and parents at home, like, what's going on, what's happening, and they said like there is. Times are changing or something like that. Things are going to change or something like that. So that it was really literally to be felt in the air, like something was happening that will probably transform our lives, which was the case. And yeah, so I have this memory of people in the streets protesting peacefully.
Right. Fascinating. Okay. So now you're in Canada. So welcome to Canada.
Thank you.
What do you think a Canadian audience can learn from your book and from Slovak literature?
I try to write. Obviously, some things are local and not difficult to translate. And even when I was working with the translator, Jonathan Gresti, some things were like quite difficult, even language-wise. But I think if literature is to be good, and I'm not saying my literature is
Well,
good.
it is good. Okay, I'll take my word for it. It is very good.
Thank you very much for that. And it's general,
Yeah.
and again, I'm very selfish in that I like to write the way I like to read, and I like reading about stories that touch me on a human level, but happen somewhere else, and be it the U.S. or Africa or at different times, so that it is general. And if there is something particular, I'm not so sure if there is something particular for Canadians, but I think that there is a lot of people. There are a lot of people in Canada who have roots in the Eastern Europe. So,
That's right.
And so this could resonate, but I believe the switch from or any regime change, any change of like social or economic structures, even cultural.
Yeah.
I think it resonates even now, especially with the third part of the book that is happening in the close future. I think this is not Slovak specific. I think it's like pretty global.
Pretty global. That makes a lot of sense. So I should add at the beginning that one of the things that attracted me to the book specifically is my family, at least on my father's side, is Slovak. I am very interested in Slovak literature. I don't come across a lot of Slovak literature translated into English. At least maybe I should look harder, but I was really, really thrilled to come across this and get an insight into what life was like after the fall. Okay, let's go back to Canada, since we're in Canada. Do you have a favorite Canadian book or author?
Definitely Margaret Atwood.
I knew you were going to say that.
I know, but the thing is, she is probably the only Canadian author I read, I have to say.
Right,
It might change after me being published by Guernica and meeting these incredible authors here. Right now I'm reading another Guernica author, Wayne Nge. I don't know what the proper pronunciation is, and it's so far it's so much
really
fun.
Good, yeah.
It's really good. So, but Margaret Atwood is excellent, and I'm not talking about the Handmaid's tale, because I saw that and it was great, but I read recently a book just by accident. I got grasp of that book, and it's called Silent Assassin. Is it?
Silent Assassin, yeah.
Silent Assassin.
I believe so, yeah.
And that was like, so when I'm talking about I want to write, some authors I like to read, so this was really excellent. There was a story within a story.
Yeah.
It was like a personal, very relatable, although there was like an old lady writing or narrating the story, going back in history, and so I really, really enjoyed it. And I'm sorry, it's really predictable.
No, I'm joking. Everyone loves Margaret Atwood. I love Margaret. Who doesn't love Margaret Atwood? But she is, in terms of literary terms, is, I guess, one of probably our biggest exports. So it's not surprising.
She's amazing.
So other than Margaret Atwood, if there's one writer, alive or dead, that you could meet with and talk to, who would it be?
I think, as for dead authors, I'm not so sure.
Okay.
But the authors who are alive, Zadie Smith.
Zadie Smith. That's a great pick. Yeah.
She's absolutely brilliant and smart, and although I have to say, I really preferred her early. That was more readable now. With I'm reading right now another book by her. It's called The Fraud, and it's sort of like historical fiction, and she does it great. But and even the one before, Northwest. What was the name? Northwest, I guess. And that was like very heavy stuff. So, but I mean, she's in her essays and in her columns. She's just great. She's a great essayist. So she's a great thinker and writer. And then also I love Paolo Giordano.
Okay.
The Italian author.
Okay.
I read a couple of books by him, but one of them is called Tasmania. It's relatively recent, and I really loved it. So I'd like to meet him.
Wonderful. Well, we're so happy to have you in Toronto. And again, this is a new experiment. We're going live from supermarket in Kensington Market, and it's at the Guernica Lounge, where Guernica will be launching the Topography of Pain in English. Again, thank you so much, Ivan.
Thank you,
Leah. It's really so
it's
great to chat with you.
It's been a pleasure.
And stay tuned for more interviews soon. Bye-bye for now.